I think it's safe to say it's my fault. Isn't that what I looked up and said this morning? Right? I'm looking around and I'm like, man, how's that there? Who didn't do their job this weekend? I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. And then I looked on the calendar and I said, oh, it was my job. Okay. Well, sheesh. I guess it was my job. It was also my job to get with Natalie and get the calendar together that we didn't do. Right. And that's when you realize your life's a mess. Right. I know what is the thing they call when with the kids and they can't stay focused on one thing or something like that. Okay, I don't have that. uh, I have the thing. Yeah, I have the thing where you just take on too many things, and it's not that you forget or it's just too much. You just keep going and you keep going and you keep going. And these thoughts had come to me last week or a couple of weeks ago. I've been just really milling on it for a couple of weeks. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you get there? How do you get to that point to where your life's a mess? And where does sin creep in? And how is it so good? And then I started to think, and I laugh about it because you probably know this, Cedro, when Allen Iverson said, practice. Practice. You remember that? And everyone fell out laughing because he's like, you guys want to talk about practice? But practice is very important. We have to practice things because if we don't, we're not going to get better at it. And so with that being said, I always write things down for some reason. It could be for work and experience with that, but it could be for other reasons and purposes. I think this might not be on. So I'm going to come back here and check on Caleb. Can you hear me now? Oh, difference, right? A little bit, a little bit. There we go. So I don't have to yell, lose my voice. Genesis, as Brother Klaus has said, is where we're going to start. Genesis chapter 2. You can turn there. You can pretty much stay there. We're going to dive around a little bit. I'm not going to take up a lot of time. This isn't something that I put together recently. This is something that I put together after self-reflection, like what you just heard me speaking on. How do we get there? How do we get to these points in life? How does everything happen? And it always takes you back to the beginning. And in Genesis, I like stories. I really like stories. I think we should really try to stick to the story because in the story itself is our salvation. We all see it different, so there's no reason to change it and make it into our words. Just leave it as it is. Read the words of God and see how that affects people. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 is where I want to start. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in that day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make a helpmeet for him. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all the cattle and to the fowl of the air and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helpmeet for him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. You say, well, okay, Brother Eddie, why do you read that? A lot of reasons. Didn't I say I had to go to the beginning? We have to figure this out. Why? Because it's a self-reflection thing. I'm looking at my own life, wondering how you get here. How did you get to this point? What's going on with your life? Why does it feel so just out of order when you have order? You have things that you're supposed to do and that you should know to do. And so in reading it, probably the biggest thing is verse 18. And the Lord said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make a helpmeet for him. And I thought about that and I said, wow, here the Lord is talking about all the good things that he's created and made. But then all of a sudden it seems like he's noticing something and he's saying it. But when God says something, it should be very important. And we got to remember that there was a war in heaven previously before this. And so who is listening? Satan is listening. Isn't that what he said? Satan knows the Bible. He comes to church. He's not afraid of these things. And I thought about that when he said, it is not good that man be alone. So he made a helpmeet for him. Was God alone? No. He had the Holy Spirit. He has Christ with him. He has the angels, right? If God was alone, who would know that he was God? Nobody, right? So he's creating these things. Why? So that we are his creatures, right? We are his pleasure, but we also understand who he is. And so when he says it's not good that he's alone and he makes him a helpmeet, I had really for years overlooked that as a kid. I said, I'm not getting married. You got to be kidding me. What successful marriages have I seen? Right? You can only keep it real. I'm not going to do it. And this is as a kid, not even knowing about love or any of that stuff. And you grow up and you notice that a lot of times you are alone. It could be because you're a Christian, right? You remember the worry and the stress of how am I going to get rid of these 300, these 500 friends in my phone, because I'm a Christian and I don't do that anymore. But as soon as you become a Christian, they just leave, right? So you're alone. Okay. Now you're not alone because you can go to church, like-minded people, right? But you get there and what's going on with the people at church? Isn't it pretty much the same thing that's going on with you? Because you've chosen that lifestyle, it seems like the world and Satan and his helpers they just have it out for you, right? So now each person that comes to church is under that influence or that situation. Doesn't it make it to where even though we're here as a group, we're still alone? Right? Because you're alone in your problems. You're not just going to stand up every week and say, hey, Brother Eddie, this is what happened. This is what I'm going through. Some things we keep to ourselves. Why? Well, there's fear of embarrassment. There's so many things. There's the thoughts that we fail continually. Isn't that what Satan always says? Well, you failed again. You're going to continue to fail and you're not worthy. So you end up being alone a lot. And what about work? Aren't you off today? Is everyone off today? Does anyone even care? So there's another division at work, right? Jesus, the disciples, all these different people were alone. When Jesus was in the garden, he was with his disciples, wasn't he? But he was still alone. They fell asleep. So we get it. It's not good that man be alone, but then that caused me to look at a lot of the patriarch stories. The people that came before us and how they got along and how they did things. So God creates a wife for Adam, right? What do we know about that? We know that she was second, right? He made man. And then from man, he made woman. So it's a totally different situation because he had already said that right there. He says everything that God had made from the ground, but not woman. All right, that's unique. That's different. So he makes the woman from man. She was second. She was with Adam daily, right? Christ came to visit them daily, right? The angels were there to give instructions and warning about Satan still being there and all these things, right? But what ended up happening? Did you see how Satan was listening? Why? Because had he been able to get to Adam up to this point, he had been in the garden. What was the difference now? Another wheel, right? So the same thing that he had done in heaven, which was come between the angels and God, right? Create that space, nothing new. Do it with these new creations, create a space between. And within that space, he was able to beguile Eve into eating the fruit. Now, that was a big problem because of what we just read in Genesis, right? It said, yeah, you can eat of everything, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in that day thou shalt surely die. Okay, so now judgment is handed down, right? She was tricked, or she learned. I mean, the whole system of Adam and Eve, what were they called when God created them? Did you notice he never changed her name? Her name was his name. He called them both Adam because they were one. Even though he had taken them from her, from him, they were one. When did Eve receive the name change? After, right? Who was naming everyone? Didn't it just say Adam was naming everything? Okay, so now Eve is there, and Adam calls her Eve instead of Adam, the name that they share. What do we know about Eve? Well, we know that it's claiming the power of all, right? The mother of all, but she wasn't. And they shared a name, but that kind of began to show me right there that there was a separation, a different type of separation, because now they were no longer called by the same name. Does that remind you of marriage? People take on the same name, right? You don't get to take your name into the marriage. Some people do, but in this case, no. So you can take that story and you can start there. Why? Because it's the beginning. And then you go on, you can go on to Lot's wife. Okay, what was Lot's wife like? What was her character like? Was she someone that Lot had met before they got to Sodom and Gomorrah? Bible doesn't let us know. Or was she someone that he met when he was there? We don't know, right? The things that we know of her is that we don't know if she was a Christian. We don't know if he married her in the city or not. All we know is that they had kids, and when it came time for them to leave, she couldn't let go, right? And she perished. Okay, well, let's keep moving. What about Abraham's wife? What do we know about her? Sarah, Sarai, name was changed. You know, she was a big influence, right, in Abraham's life. Where did she come from? Babylon, right? What was her family like? Were they Christians, as we would say today? No, right? Isn't that why he called Abraham from there? Okay, what else do we know about her? The biggest thing, the suggestion, right? When God said he was going to do something special in their life, she came with a suggestion that he get with her servant, Hagar, right? Okay. Is that something she should have done? You can say it. It's okay. It's just us. No, right? It wasn't. You know, when you think about the names in the Bible, and I'll go back later, and you think about one of Lot's, or not Lot, who was it? Lamech's wives, Ada and Zillah, and one of them, the name means tingling in the ear or a shadow, and you think about the influence of his wife just telling him that, right? Kings, it's sometimes the queen can convince the king to do something, right? Because he's there. Isn't that what one of Solomon's brothers tried to get his mother to do? Hey, let me have Abishag, David's old maid that used to warm him up because he was sick, right? And he says, okay, well, I can't go to Solomon and ask that. I got to go ask his mother, because she has the king's ear and stuff like that. So when you have someone's ear and you're an influence, suggestion and things become really big. So I started to notice, okay, well, women definitely have an influence over men and their suggestions, right? Did Eve suggest that Adam eat the fruit? Did Sarah suggest Abraham sleep with his servant? Those suggestions, man. All right. What about Jacob? Maybe something's different about Jacob and his wives. All right. What happened there? I mean, everything that we saw with Jacob and his wives was pretty much the same, wasn't it? He went there to get one wife. He ended up with 4. Right? And how did they treat that? How do you share yourself with 4 wives? They tricked him, right? Or they would do these games with each other. And she says, look, I made a deal with the others. You got to sleep with me tonight. True or false? True. It goes back with more wives than he had planned on having, which kind of went against, we can call their religion. What about Isaac's wife? Because these are all patriarchs, right? Figure that if we're going to practice after people that got it right. Or we're going to practice after people that got it wrong. In our case, which works best? Obviously, they got it wrong, but they got something right too. So you got Isaac's wife. What happened with Isaac? Didn't she beguile him through her son? She says, yeah, your dad's about to give the blessing. We're going to dress you up. You go in and get the blessing. True or false? Then who sent him to go live with Laban? To go get a wife from him? Wasn't it the mom? How long was he gone? 20 years? And he came back with 4 wives. Right? You say, well, dang, Brother Eddie, what are you getting at, man? You're making it sound really bad for women. No. This isn't about you guys. And it's not about men either. It's about the big picture. Because with our minds, it's really simple. It's got to be about me. But it's not. But it is. But it's not. So, same thing, right? And she was from Babylon. What about Solomon's wives? The first one was an Egyptian. What had they learned about Egypt? What goes on in Egypt? And how many times had God told them not to go back to Egypt? Now here's Solomon marrying a wife from Egypt, and then he marries a bunch more, right? And as he got older, what happened? The same guy, if you don't add power to anything, you'll never learn anything. The same guy that's able to build a temple unto the Lord that lasted for years, and the presence of the Lord was definitely there. The same guy that on this side, when he got older, his wives were able to convince him to do what? I'm telling a lot of these stories as if I know them, but I could also read them. But I know that does take some time to go and read them all. But we'll go to Genesis since we're already there. We'll go to Genesis 4 and verse 19. Self-study. Self. You have to realize where the issue is, what the problems are. And even though you come to the Lord with it, he's going to give you some light. And so when we go to Genesis chapter 4 and we drop down to verse 19, it says, and Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, the name of the other Zillah. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents and such as have cattle. Okay. So we know that in Genesis and in the Bible especially, you don't hear about names. You just don't hear names. And if you do hear names, it should be a red flag. You should write that name down and maybe go try to look at the oldest translation of it. Try to keep it Hebrew, and it'll tell you the story, or it'll tell you more about the people because the power is in the name. And it said here that such as dwell in tents, as such that have cattle. Okay, we get it. And his brother's name was Jabal. He was the father of all such who handle the harp or the organ. They do music. Okay. What are these things used in? And why is it an issue? Well, this is coming from a worldly family, so it's going to be something about worldly worship, right? Okay, so it's telling us what each son brought to that. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and in iron. Okay, that's 3 out of the 4 kids, and it tells you exactly what they're doing, and the translation is in their name. And then all of a sudden, it says, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. That's it. Don't you think that's kind of odd? Right? God's going to sit here and explain the things of the world, the worship of the world, how they're doing it, and who was the father of it, but leave out one. Why did he not say what Naamah did? What was her trait? What was the thing that she had? Because her brothers obviously had something. Or is it true that back in those days in the Bible, women didn't matter? Whoo-wee. That's what they're trying to get us to think, right? Women didn't matter. So, hey, her name is there, but why is her name there? What was everyone else who was doing godly things? What was their wives' name? It's not even in there, right? So you go to the translation. What does Naamah mean? Anyone know? Just off the top? Pleasure. Naamah means pleasure. What does that do in your mind when I say that? Whoa. Whoa, right? Hold on. Well, I mean, come on. By chapter 6, he's ready to destroy the world. How's he going to do that? There had to be something going on, right? So, Naamah. What did you say, Klaus, it meant? Right. Because we're talking pleasure, right? Who does anything without having pleasure? When you eat, is it pleasureful? Yeah. When you get paid, different things bring pleasure, but it had never been focused on in that way. So we kind of get it. All right, let's go forward. We're going to go to John chapter 4, verse 5. You don't have to go there. I mean, I could go there and kind of read it. I just wanted to let you know where we were at with that. So, then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, give me a drink, for his disciples had gone away to the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria, how is it that thou, being a Jew, askest a drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman said unto him, sir, thou hast nothing to draw with. The well is deep. From whence thou hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well and drank therefore himself and his children and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh the water shall not thirst again, but whosoever drinketh the water that I shall give, shall thirst again, but whosoever shall drink of the water that I shall give shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give shall be in him a wellspring of water, springing up into everlasting life. The woman said unto him, sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come thither to draw. Jesus said unto her, go, call thy husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, thou hast said, well, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast, and that is not thy husband, and thou saidest thou truly. So the woman said unto him, sir, I perceive thou art a prophet. Yeah, it keeps going. But that was the point. Why did Jesus say that? Why was this the conversation with the woman at the well? Anybody? Living waters. She wanted that. What was her life like? Right. And it was in disarray. What was the solution? Right? Jesus was there. He tells her, hey, did he say, I've got an answer to fix all your problems? Or did he start with the problem? He started, go get your husband. Why would he even say that? Why would he say that? Here, let's go there. 1 Corinthians is why he's going to say it. Go to 1 Corinthians, chapter 14. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, I know there are people that don't like to hear this, but it's there. And it came to mind. Verse 35. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for a woman to speak in the church. Whoa. Whoa, right? Because we're all friends. Am I against women? No, I'm all for women. I try to create as many platforms as possible for them to get the message out. Because why? Because they're really nurturing, and because it's a help meet, right? Eve had gotten caught up in trying to catch back up to where Adam was. Why? Because it was her responsibility to stop it where it started. But she didn't. She continued on and she gave it to Adam. So therefore, think about this in a way that it's you. How would you feel? You would feel that you have to climb out of that hole, right? You just got us evicted. You just got us ejected out of a kingdom. You know, we are no longer the king of this world. We no longer have a place. So picture her trying to climb out of that position, right? Now, when people have kids, do you readily see it in the mail? Isidro, you pregnant, right? No. Isidro, your wife pregnant. No. You don't see any of that, right? Why? Because the woman is the one who carries the child. So, man, this is going to sound pretty weird, but, you know, you guys get it. I'm not a woman, full-on man. But if I was a woman trying to get back into good graces with everything that happened, couldn't I exclude you as the male from the birth? Right? It takes two to have the kid, but do you see two? No, you only see it in the woman. So the woman has the proof. And what did she say when she started explaining about the kid? She said, the Lord has given us a son? Or did she say, the Lord has given me? No. When she was at the tree, did she say me or us? Right? The Lord told me I couldn't eat the fruit. No, the Lord told us, right? When they were getting along, when they're not, what did she say? Lord gave me a son and assumed that it was going to be Jesus, right? So trying to climb back out. Where did Naaman come from? Genesis. What were women doing? You have men over here making this, doing that, building that, cattle, all this stuff. Where's the place for the woman? Right? Well, they do other things, simple things, and sometimes this thing. So that's why Jesus told her, hey, go get your husband. You know, why? Because I'm technically supposed to be speaking to him, you know, and then he can explain this to you personally. Isn't that amazing? Why? Because that happened in the Old Testament and the New Testament as well. So that's why we bounce back and forth. Who else? Job's wife. What was Job's wife like? That's kind of like Lot's wife, right? We don't know a lot about her, but we do know that she was a big part of his life as far as support. Right? She's the only one left. Everyone else is dead. And what support did she choose to give him? Curse God and die. Say that again, Sister Martha. She was working for someone else. How many of the women that I spoke of were working for someone else? Right? That's why I said, man, this is, whoo, it could get to the point where you're like, man, are you talking about women? No. Why? Because in the beginning I said it's not about you. It's not about us either, it's men. Who is it about then? It's about God. It's about the big picture. And Satan is so good with his workers in making us believe that it's about us that we can compartmentalize or just break things down. Everything is about us. But as soon as we step outside of that, we realize the attacks that are on us are for a certain purpose. It's to destroy God's kingdom. Who cares about you, right? Isn't that what they think? We are just going to use you for our purpose. We're going to use you to hurt other people. And we're going to use you in these interactions, and you're not even going to understand where they came from. So Jesus addresses it. Job addresses it. He says, you speak like a woman of the world, right? What you doing here with me? And why all of this now? Because I see a lot of things online too. This all goes into play with everyday life. And a lot of the things being said online is just crazy. You would be amazed at some of the stuff that you think that you hear from the women, and you'd be amazed at some of the stuff you hear from the men. But either way, everything is gone out of the window nowadays. You know, I mean, no one really cares about anything. And it said there would be a time like that, didn't it? It said something about 7 women to 1 man. Only give us your name. All right. Remember, there's coming a time when he said that, yeah, seven women to 1 man. They don't even care about you. They don't, you know, they just want your name. They just want that representation. But what were they speaking about then? Exactly. So it can't be that bad for women. Why? Because God chose to use you as a representation of his church. Not only his church, but what else? Truth, knowledge. It's like a woman bind around the neck, you know? But the church. What's the most important thing there is? The church. Turn to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1. And I think that is where that comes from. Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. There it is. No. There it is. Okay. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of 1 man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Hold up. How is that possible? Right? It is possible because of Revelation and what had gone on there. The representation, as Sister Martha had said, I like to read these things because then people don't just look at us like we're making it up or we're trying to force them to believe what we believe. It's like, just go read. And I'll give you the verses online so you can go read it yourself and see what the Holy Spirit says. In Revelation 12, verse 14 through 17, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and time and a half from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. It's amazing, right? It's like, wait a minute. You were just saying all this stuff and how these women had done all these different things and all this stuff. Yes, but is it just speaking to womanhood, or is it speaking to the church and spirituality? Right? When Jesus was sitting at the well, was he speaking to her as a woman, whoo, if he was speaking to her as a woman, you think she still would have stayed at the well? She wouldn't have took it, right? Because what are you saying? Wait a minute. Talking about I've been married 5 times. You don't know my business, you know? Well, you've been married 5 times. Yeah, that could be taken pretty negatively, right? But he wasn't coming at her like that. He was coming at her like, what? Your representation of everything relies on your spirituality as well. Wasn't that the conversation in short? And it worked. It helped. Why? Because then she realized the power that she had. So the church is referred to as a woman. The woman at the well is a great example of what was going on. What about Samson's wife? You guys remember her? What did he say? I mean, if I have to go there, I'll go there. What was it in Judges 14? Judges chapter 14 is where the story is. And like I said, all of this stuff I've read, and over the years, it's come together as a story that I can really digest. But when I first came across it, I didn't understand it. And some of these things just kind of just stick in your mind. What did I say? 14? Judges chapter 14, 1 through 3. And Samson went down to Timnah and saw a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistine. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistine. Now, therefore, go get her for me to wife. This is real stories, man. This is real stuff, right? You have to be that person. Okay. Then his father and his mother said unto him, is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren or among all thy people that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto the father, get her for me, for she pleases me well. From the beginning, he said he saw a woman. But then over here, when he's explaining it, she pleases me well. Huh. See, women aren't hearing it. Y'all hear it, but it's different for men. You understand what I'm saying? Look at Klaus going to hide his face. Huh? Caleb back there. Oh, yeah. It's different. Why? Listen to what they said. Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren or among all thy people? You think there were no women in the church for Samson? There was, but they didn't like him. Wasn't he alone all the time? Watch Sister Martha chime in on this. What does Sister White say about Samson when he grabbed the jawbone to fight the Philistines? What did the Israelites do? Yeah, that's what they did. They watched. What would happen if they would have helped? Wouldn't they have been a part of the liberation of the Israelites from the Philistines? But did they? Not hearing the story. Not applying it. They didn't. Matter of fact, didn't they tie him up and give him to the Philistines to avoid trouble? Man, what did I say about church? Didn't I say I don't care how many people in church? You still alone? Was this dude in church? Was he alone? He was. Didn't they give him up? They gave him up. Then how many of the women from church liked him? They can't even understand this dude. But who understood him? Who took him in? Worldly woman. What? It's a story. It's still a story today. You wonder, how did you get to that position? You were alone. What did God say from the beginning? It's not good that man be alone. Why? The attacks are going to come. No one's going to care. No one's going to understand what it's like to be alone. It's not cool. So Samson finds this worldly woman that pleases him well. Now, I know we said what the girl's name was. What was her name? Naamah. And what does Naamah mean? Put it together. You see that? So now she pleases him well. What do church people like to do? Don't they help those that are impoverished or those that they think they can help? So at what point do you think Samson wasn't trying to help that woman or think that he could? There's a story about when in Europe they were killing Christians. The Pope and them were going around killing Christians, making up lies, doing all this bunch of stuff. And the Christians had gone underground. While they were underground, they had problems finding them. So they said, you know what? We know how to find them, right? The devil always knows how to do something. When Balaam and the Israelites were coming from Egypt, and they kept trying to get Balaam and all these people to pray and to stop him, he finally says, you can't stop them. The only way, does Satan know the way? The only way you're going to be able to stop these Israelites is if you have a party. You invite some women. You remember that? When he told them that, what'd they do? Did it work? The devil is good, ain't he? He knows what works. So fast forward to Europe. And they're killing everybody. And they can't find nobody else to kill. Right? So they say, okay, well, here it is. They've gone into hiding. You know how we going to find them? All you soldiers, take that stuff off. Keep your swords. Tell them you have defected. You've left working for us. And you need a safe haven. These Christians will take you in. And on a certain day at a certain time, we're going to give you the signal. You all rise up and kill them. Y'all remember that in the book of the martyrs? Did it work? Why? What does Satan know? The Christian is going to try to save anybody. Right? So at what point do you think these men didn't love the woman? If they didn't, this would just be stories. Right? But did Adam love Eve? Did Lot love his wife? Did Abraham, I mean, come on. He had a kid from the woman, right? But he still had to put him out. But did he love him? Isn't that what he was saying to God? Hey, can you bless Ishmael too? Right? At what point didn't someone love someone? Did Solomon love his wives? Said he did, right? The dude went from having fire come down from heaven, brand new temple and everything, to sacrificing kids. True or false? But if we go to Deuteronomy, it'll give us more of some of the things that were going to be coming to the Israelites as they came out of Egypt and began to do things on their own. They were going to run into a lot of situations that maybe they couldn't understand or figure out why. They were going to have to do a lot of practice. So Deuteronomy is probably the best book of practice, chapter 7, and it says, verse 1 through 4, and this is why. This is why the whole thing. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto their sons, nor his daughter shall not take unto thy sons, for they will turn away the sons from following me, that they may serve other gods, so will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Did he not let him know? He let him know, right? There's a reason that all of this stuff is happening. And does that reflect on the lifestyle and the life of a person like me? It does. Why? Didn't I say, man, my life crazy? So much so to where you got to sit down and try to figure it out. What's going on, right? Got to go sit at that well. Where's Jacob's well? I need to go sit there. See if Jesus can meet up with me and let me know what's going on. Right? So we see what it says there, but then we go forward to Kings. 1 Kings 11, verse 1 through 5. But King Solomon loved. What did you say? Is it up to me to decide if this man loves somebody or not when it already says it? That's the problem with people reading the Bible. Act like they don't have no understanding of what's going on. They don't want to apply nothing. They don't want to make it real. They don't want to make it about themselves. But King Solomon loved many strange women. That's how the chapter starts. Together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites. Wait a minute. Didn't I just read where it said not to, and it named them? Okay. Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. Of the nation concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. Personal. This ain't about you. It's about me. This is about men. This is about 2024. A new lifestyle, a new way of thinking, but the same. The world will talk about all these different things, have you go through all these different loopholes. I mean, it's terrible. You listen to the music. They were trying to tell me the other day, they said, man, Eddie, what do you think about these women rappers? Do you think they ruined it for women? And I said, well, they're a part of it. Why? I said, look at how they dress. They going around, everybody want to do that, you know? Don't matter. Just they're out there. Clothes, everything. What do they want? Money. How quick will they leave? Real quick. You know? So it's a new day and age. 2024, you need to know that these things aren't new. This stuff has been going on. And so, as it said, they would turn away his heart from the Lord. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth and the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord as his father David did. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, and the abomination of Moab in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his wives, which burned incense and sacrifice unto God. But as men today, we don't really see that as being a part. Why? Didn't it say he loved them wives? So, was he doing the same thing Samson was doing? He's a godly man, right? What you think he was doing? Just being like, you know what? I'm going to take all this off. I don't want to be godly no more. Just go kick it? No. He was still godly. But as far as he could see, for the love that he had, he's doing what came naturally. Don't make sense, right? But to men it does. Because we see and we understand this in a different way, where Like Eve said, the serpent was subtle, it beguiled me. For you to even understand what that word means, you probably had to have it done to you. But how often did that happen after Eden? Well, because people give up on the story. Once it happened once, that was it. You think that if Satan found something he could use, he was going to stop using it? They were going to have a few more arguments, weren't they? They were going to have a few more issues with this things going on. So what do you do when she learns these things? She goes to Adam and she's just doing these things naturally. Isn't that what a lot of is going on today? We're looking for answers. You're alone. I mean, she said, what does she say? I would say it's the power of possession. What is Cain's name? She named him Cain, right? Don't Cain mean possession? Yeah. So what was her attitude about the whole situation? She learned how to beguile. She had taken possession. And what does the law say? Possession is 9/10 of the law. Right? You got 9/10, you got possession. So she had the kid. And I think that Satan is so good that he can use these things to take us off, but we need to take note and the things that help. And of course, I could read more Bible verses, but I think we're kind of getting close to time. Numbers. There you go. Was the story that I spoke about the Moabites, in case people online wanted to find that. It's Numbers 25, 1-5 as our last verse. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods, and the people did eat and bow down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. And the Lord said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses and in the sight of all the congregation and of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door, the tabernacle of the congregation. So the story's real. Did it happen? We can skip through and continue to find all of these different things. But like I said, for me, there were a lot of things that I was seeing over the last couple of weeks. I saw that as far as men, we need to be told these things. We need to be aware of these things because it's not about us. And yeah, you can get to feeling alone and you could do all this work and you could have the discouragement and everything else. But ultimately, you are one of the best tools, the best that God has. Right? He put it on a man. Like, look, man, hold it down. Right? Gird up your loins and hold it down and represent. Why? Because I don't think we realize the separation that Satan has caused between us and women. So you have a bunch of women looking for godly men, and they even go to church. Don't like nobody. And then you got a bunch of guys looking for godly women. So what do we need to do? We need to figure it out. We need to give people more options. We need to speak about these type of things so that we can allow people to become strong in the world. Everyone's not going to come up like me and just tell you, oh, hey, you know what? I had a terrible week. Started studying on all this stuff, tried to figure it out, and God started to point out women to me. Why? You distracted. I don't know. I think people watch movies. It's not bad to say, but people watch The Matrix. And it always sticks out to me. Certain things always stick out. What stuck out to me about The Matrix? Well, when he was trying to teach, remember, practice. When he was trying to teach Neo how to defend himself, he got distracted. By what? Everyone had on black. Everyone was just walking, doing stuff. And then this woman walked by in a tight red dress, didn't she? And he looked, and next thing you know, the gun was at his head, right? Distractions, beautiful distractions, you know. And for men, and look at the story of Israel. Could they beat him? They could do all kinds of stuff. Didn't matter till they sent them women in there. That's what mattered. Why? What is the big deal about sex that just is so harmful to God? Have we ever talked about something like that? Never. So how long you think people going to keep falling? Till we talk about it. You know, we have to learn. We have to practice. You can't be afraid to talk about stuff, because what is it worth? I mean, life is short, you know, and it could be so much better if we decided to speak on things that the power that a woman has, or the importance of choosing wisely. What happens when you have kids from the wrong person? I mean, you could do that. You could simply just say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to start dating someone. Oh, hey, she's cute. She's hot, right? You guys understand. And you start maybe talking to the person. You might throw God in here and there. And the next thing you know, you're kind of dating. And then the next thing you know, oh, here's one good. Okay, you're not using protection. And the next thing you know, she's pregnant, right? And then the next thing you know, she's telling you she's pregnant from someone else. Wow, right? There are just so many different ways. Or she could tell you she has a disease that's incurable. So many different ways and things that can take you out. And just by taking you out, the message no longer goes where it needs to go. Satan has tools. But what's his best tool? Why is a woman considered like the church? You know, all of these different things. It's because what a woman can be. God gives the woman a great opportunity of representing him, you know. And I think that that's what we need to look towards. And that's what he was looking towards. Did he go to the men? Did he go to all 5 of her husbands and be like, hey, you guys suck? No, he started with her, right? Because when you look at all of these movements, whether it was with the disciples, whether it was over in Europe, no matter where it was, women were very instrumental in it. And so as men, we need to be looking to strengthen the women, but we also have to strengthen ourselves. But also as women, he said, help meet, you know, men are going to need support. Some people think yelling at the man all the time is something that's going to support him, you know, but it isn't. It's just that soft voice, that confirmation. Hey, you're okay. Things are good. God will work it out. Can you imagine how the couples would come in here from that point on? But at this point in the world, it's just crazy right now, you know? And I think we really need to start giving more room to educating one another and nurturing one another. Women are really nurturing, right? Some men don't never want to leave the house. Watch out, Natalie, he's going to be 30. Staying at the house. So it's my prayer that we are able to take our daily lives and the situations that happen to us on the daily and stand up in courage and speak about them. Because there's not anyone that came before us that wasn't doing the same thing, you know? And the devil will make you think that you are the only one and that you've gone too far and that you're not even worthy. But that ain't true. We're all worthy. We've all sinned and we've all come short of the glory of God. So there's nothing for us to be ashamed about anymore. You know, speak your truth, because in speaking the truth, we're able to grow. We're able to help one another. One of the things before I close that really stuck out to me about the Waldensians and all these people that came throughout the martyrdom of Christendom is that they had developed so much trust for one another, that they would have these groups. And this is not all reading today, last week, all that. This is just over time. And these things will stick out. And they had these groups within the church. The church was a group, and then the men would get in a group of 3, right? So you have these little groups. And within that group of 3, they would confide in each other their sins. You try to do that today, woo-wee, right? People gonna hang you on a cross. Yeah, you know what Brother Isidro told me, you know? And now everybody looking at Isidro, he's like, whoa, I didn't know everybody was gonna, you know, because it's in confidence. But they would tell each other's secrets, their secret sins, and stuff like that, because they trusted one another to keep it within that system of those 3, and then they would help each other. And if they would see that person falling off and going that way, they knew. Call them up. Go over there. Go do stuff. You know? I thought that was just amazing. I said, how do they get to that? Between that and the kids preaching, just amazed me. I said, man, they won't let the parents preach no more, so the kids got up and preached. I said, that's beautiful. How are our kids going to preach if we don't have them practice? We got to have them practice. We got to keep them on it. Why? Because they may have to take over the reins. You know, how are we going to grow as a church when you don't trust nobody in church? Keep it real. Throw the stones. I don't care. But keep it real. You don't trust people. Why? Everybody in church, what people don't know about people in church is they still got problems. The only difference between somebody in church and in the world is that they're trying. So people come to a place of trying and have so much resentment for everyone there, when it's like, who told you that everyone was going to be perfect in church? He said, I came to heal the sick, not the people that are perfect. So once people get over that and realize that everyone in the church is working on themselves, it will become a place of love like that. That's why that's the last commandment he gave. And so it's the title of the sermon, Love and Marriage. You know, but it's different. It's not about just marriage and stuff like that, but it is, you know, a marriage to one another, a marriage to the truth, a marriage to God in a way that when you fail, you're able to get up. Ain't that the definition of a Christian? You get up, and we get up, and we just keep going and smile about it. Why? All of sin and come short of the glory of God. He loved us. This is another thing I tell my friends. I said, man, because they get upset. They'll continue to do stuff. And they're like, man, you know, I'm trying to follow God. I'm trying to do this, trying to do that. And I said, well, you've got to get used to failing. You're going to fail. God chose you, and the Holy Spirit put on you to go this way when you were at your worst. So what makes you think at any point he's going to leave you while you're getting better? He's not. You know, I think it's just us. We start to think a little bit more subconsciously, like, man, is he going to forgive me again? 7 times 70. Get back up, try again. And how many of these situations where they failed did God bless them? Did God bless Solomon, the kingdom of Israel? Did God bless Abraham? What about Lot? What about all these people? They all failed, didn't they? So sometimes you just got to be willing to fail. Right? Because it's when we're weak that he's strong.